What is good people? This is Jeff Lightsey Jr. here with the Black Boss channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Today we are here to talk about the NFL and some racism that has taken place in the NFL for a long time. It's finally being brought to light, but why a lot of big name sports media platforms refuse to address it. We will talk about it right after the bumper. Stay tuned. What's good people? Jeff Lightsey Jr. here with the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. Thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget, this weekend we are in Orlando at the All Black National Convention in Orlando, Florida, October 29th through November 1st. Get your tickets at allblacknationalconvention.com. That is allblacknationalconvention.com. So today, please let me know that you're with me, because we are here to talk about you, black people. It's what we love to do. We love to try to solve problems, but we also bring things to light. We bring things to light that are not being covered in the mainstream media, and this is one of them. So put your hashtag B1s in the chat, your hashtag B1s in the chat if you are with me today. So today I'm here to talk about something that came out recently about the NFL and what they call race norming. So for those of you who don't know, obviously, the NFL, the National Football League, football is a very, very violent sport. In football, men are literally, the purpose of the game is to smash into another man. Like literally is hit him as hard as you can and to stop the other man. The phrase that they use in football is to impose your will on another man. And so in that, you get a lot of collisions. Football is a collision sport. It's full of hits, brutal hits, that leave a lot of these men essentially crippled once they're done. They are left with damaging, like literally life-altering, damaging brain diseases. Like, I mean, this is not a joke. This is not me making an assumption. These are facts. They are literally left with life-altering brain damage, like permanent brain damage, from playing football for years and years. A lot of guys start football at the age, tackle football at the age of 7, 8 years old. And then some of them, the really good ones, play until their mid-30s, right? And so that leaves them with life-altering brain disease. For a long time, the NFL didn't recognize that these actual life-altering, mood-changing brain diseases existed. For years, they denied it, that it ever existed. But it came to fruition that a black man discovered this disease called CTE. Now, CTE has been occurring in football players since football started, because when you're not, as humans, we are not built to literally run into each other with our heads and hit each other as hard as possible. That's not what we're supposed to do, but for in sports and entertainment, we partake in it in a sport called football. So why am I giving you all this backstory? Because it's going to come into play. I promise you. Just stick with me. Thank you for the B1s in the chat. Michael Summers, Lindsey Rhodes, Satara Green, and All-Star Fennell. So the NFL this week, they came out, then they admitted to what something is called race norming. So remember I just told you all of those collisions that took place in the NFL? Well, those collisions, like I said, left almost all of their former players with severe brain damage. So severe that these men, a lot of them were miserable. So miserable, a lot of them, these men literally committed suicide because they were in such a depression state. You see, CTE alters your brain, and you could be 30 years old, 30, 35 years old, and start having early stages of dementia in your 30s, guys. Think about this. Early stages of dementia, you become forgetful, you become depressed, you have anxiety, you have all of these problems with you because you have a neurological problem, right? And so for years, like I said, the NFL, the National Football League, said you can go out there for 3 hours every week for 10 years and just collide, smash, and nothing will happen to your brain. That was the message they pushed. And a lot of people bought it. But then it came out around 2002 that CTE was a thing. Now, I'm telling you all of this to set it up for what's taking place now. Now there is a lawsuit, and it has been pending for years, but the NFL finally agreed to pay out almost $1 billion to a number of players. I'll show you the list later. A number of players that sustained brain injuries. The problem is, out of that nearly $1 billion, a ton of black men were turned away because they didn't pass what the NFL called a cognitive test. Now, a cognitive test is when they test, see where your brain level's at, how you think, how you react, and all these kind of things. The NFL, listen to this, guys. The NFL was denying these black men. Why? Because they said that the black men were born essentially with a brain disease. That the black men were born not as smart as the white NFL players that came and suffered these same diseases. So a black man and a white man could play the same number of days in the NFL, can be born on the same day in the same city in the same damn hospital. But in their minds, the white man was born smarter. So therefore, when he scores on this cognitive test after playing in the NFL for however long, and it's lower, let's just give it a number. Say it's a 50. And the black man played in the NFL, was born on the same day, the same month, held the same damn hospital, and scores a 50. I'm going to approve this white man and give him money from this settlement. And I'm going to say, well, you were born at a 50. I can't prove that, but I'm just going to say it because you're black. This was literally taking place not in the 50s, not in the 60s, not in the 70s. They came out and admitted this in 2021. Let me know that you're with me in the chat. Please let me know that you understand what I'm saying, that you are with me, that you're following along. They came out and admitted that this term that I'm talking about, saying that you were born dumber as being black, because you were black, you were born dumber, was what they give this fancy term, race norming. Race norming was taking place in the NFL in 2021. Let's read to you. I'm going to read to you some from The Source. The Source magazine. I think you guys remember Source magazine from back in the day. Well, they have a website. This is coming from The Source magazine. It says the NFL is agreeing to end the practice of, quote, race norming in a $1 billion concussion settlement. Former NFL players Kevin Henry and Najeh Davenport filed suit against the NFL last year, alleging that their concussions claims were denied because of race norming, which is the league's practice of using different cognitive baselines for black players. Allegedly, the adjustments have prevented hundreds of black players suffering from dementia to win awards that average over, listen to this, $500,000. This is on average or more. To date, the fund has paid out $821 million for 5 types of brain injuries, including early and advanced dementia, Parkinson's disease, and Lou Gehrig's disease, also known as ALS. But listen to what you guys get. So think about what I just said. The NFL has denied hundreds of black men from getting over this $820 million. But listen to what you guys get, though. The Black National Anthem, known as Lift Every Voice, will now be included in the league's pre-opening ceremonies. So you guys don't get no money, right? Hundreds of black men have been denied this. Over $500,000, and that's on the low end, up until millions of dollars. You've been denied it. But what you do get, you get Lift Every Voice. You get Lift Every Voice, the Black National Anthem at the beginning of games. This is called racism, guys. This is called racism. If you don't believe me, look it up. Quote, it says, the attorneys for the black players suspect that white men were qualifying for awards at 2 to 3 times the rate of blacks. So for every 3 black men that got paid, they all got concussions, right? The NFL's 70% black, right? They all got brain disease. They all got brain damage. They all got CTE. But for every 3 black men, there were 9 white men. For every 5 black men that got approved for some money. Think about this, guys. Let's listen to this. The NFL is 70% black. 70% black. So for every 5 black men, there were 15 white guys that got this award in a league where they only make up 30%. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. You can't, because it doesn't. This is what's taking place. 2 to 3 times the rate of blacks. It's unclear whether a racial breakdown of payouts will ever be done or made public. You know they're not going to make public the racial breakdown. You know they're not going to make public how much they paid the white guys versus how much they paid the black men. You know that's not coming. You know that's not coming. Let's continue reading. According to NBC Philadelphia, the $1 billion agreement was leaked online Wednesday and still needs to be reviewed by a judge. An attorney for Henry and Davenport called the statement, quote, a huge win for black retired players, and said that he looks forward to discussing it once fully permitted. So he's not allowed to talk about it right now. The retired NFL players will now have the chance to test a rescored, or in some cases seek a new round of cognitive testing, according to the settlement, details of which were first reported by the New York Times. We look forward to the new testing, yada, yada, yada. So why is this important? Well, this is very important, besides the fact that it was just racism. Because this is not being talked about on your favorite sports talk television shows. Hell, you might only hear this here in like BSO. Shout out to Robert Latal because he brought it to my attention. Black Sports Online, that is. And here's why. Because money controls the media. The NFL has literally been caught red-handed screwing over black men. A league that is made up of over 70% black men literally spit in the face of black men and told them you were born dumber than white men. Not in the 60s, not in the 50s or the 40s or the 1800s. You were born dumber than white men in the 2000s. In 2021, we were telling black men that they were born dumber than white men. That's exactly what the NFL's come out and said. They come out and admit it. But you can't find this anywhere. Why can't you? Because on ESPN and Fox Sports and CBS Sports and ABC Sports, which is Disney, which is ESPN, they will never speak bad about the NFL. Why? Why is that, Jeff? They'll talk about the players. Hell, let them talk about Lamar Jackson all day and how dumb he is and how he hangs out in the hood and does all that stuff and do everything wrong, except for he just wins a whole bunch. But I can't tell you how he does that because he's a terrible player. Why won't they speak out against the NFL? It's about the almighty dollar. Imagine. Like they literally have come out and said, like, and I want you to realize how severe this is. Like, these men who have these brain damages and have these issues, be sure to hit the thumbs up button, guys. We're in here pretty good. Thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. These men who are suffering these brain damages because they played this game to entertain a bunch of people and got paid what seemed like a lot of money by white folks. Some of these men have died playing this game. Like the dementia and the Alzheimer's and the ALS, like, man, you hear that. It's like, whoa, that is horrible, especially for guys in their 30s and 40s. But some of these guys from playing football lost their life. They lost their life. Their families. They are no longer with their families. You don't believe me? These people are no longer with their families. And not only are they no longer with their families, they were taken from their families too early. And then when their families filed lawsuits, they were told to go to hell. That's what it sounded like to me. If you telling me I was naturally born this slow, nothing's wrong with my brain, because you can't determine someone has CTE until after they died. So that means these people have died and the NFL have told them to go to hell. That's a problem, guys. Let's look at some of these black players that were taken from their family. This is Dave Durison. 1960 to 2011. How many years is that? For those of you in the audience, how many years is that? I can tell you. It's 51 years old. Dave Durison committed suicide at 51 years old. He helped the 85 Bears in their 46 defense win the Super Bowl. Durison died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the chest in 2011. He sent the heartbreaking last text message to his family that says, quote, "Please see that my brain is giving to the NFL Brain Bank. Please see that my brain is giving to the NFL Brain Bank." He killed himself, guys. Dave Dorson was taken from his family way too young. He was taken from his family way too young. He's not the only one. There's even more heartbreaking stories. There's even more heartbreaking stories. Where's another one? Let's look at Mr. Adrian Robertson. Adrian Robertson. Let me share my screen, and tell you the story of Adrian Robertson. Adrian Robertson, 89 to 2015. I'm not a math wizard, but for those of you, 89 to 2015, how old is that? How old is that for those of you in the chat? From 1989 to 2015, I can tell you that's 26 years. This man died at 26 years old. Robinson was a linebacker who played for Temple University. He played a few years in the NFL, and in 2015, he signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the Canadian Football League. 2 weeks after his signing with Hamilton, he was found dead. The medical examiner ruled the death a suicide. He was diagnosed with CTE. He was 26 years old, guys. He was 26 years old. 26 years old. These people were taken from their families. And once they were taken from their families, the NFL told them to go to hell. They spit in their face and told them they were born that slow. Think about this. Some of these men who died in their 20s or 30s or 40s, early 50s, had brains of people that are 90, in their 90s. Or as if you lived till you were 90 years old. Their brains were so damaged that it looked like they were in their 80s and 90s, in their 40s. This game added 40 years to their brain. It was so damaged. So damaged. But the NFL will tell you, think about this. The NFL is literally being racist. They're literally, not like hypothetically racist. They were literally telling black folks that you were born slower than white folks. But this is what they'll do for you. They'll put in racism. They'll put in racism in the back of their end zones. They'll put in racism in the back of their end zones. They'll put the names of killed black people on the back of their helmets. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Bolton John, Ahmaud Arbery. They'll tell you they're not racist because they give you symbolism. We must end racism. Listen to how ironic that is. While they're blatantly being racist, telling you as a black man, you were not born as smart as white people. But they'll put "we must end racism" on their jumbotrons. End racism in the back of their end zones. The names of killed black people on the back of their helmets. But when you come to get your money, you just put your blood, sweat, and tears and literally risk your health. People think when they think of risk your health, they think of all the broken ankles and the broken arms and the torn ACLs and all that stuff. Your brain is way more powerful than your damn ACL. Your ACL, you can live a good life without having bad ACLs, having bad knees. I see it all the time. Once you lose your brain, it's gone. It's over. It's over. Once you lose your brain, like what a phrase people say is "you have lost your mind" when they think you've gone crazy. Think about that. Once you lose your brain, ain't much you can do for anybody. You can't provide for your family anymore. As a man, these are men. Not being able to provide to your family, not be able to walk your daughter down when she gets married, not be able to go outside and shoot basketball with your son, teach your kids about what's taking place in America, not being able to do all of these things. Once your brain's gone, you can't do that anymore. The average career of an NFL player is 4 years. If you go into the league, say you play 4 years of college ball, so you're 22 years old. You go into the league, you're done in the league by age 26. You have an entire life ahead of you. But if your brain's gone, you can't do nothing. You can't do anything. And so I'm talking about this because your favorite sports show won't talk about it. Why won't your favorite sports show talk about? Now, I do want to tell you, here is the list. I'm going to show you the list of the players on that lawsuit that I talked about. That lawsuit that's almost near $1 billion, where hundreds, remember I said hundreds of black men have been turned down. Here's the list of names. Here, it starts right here. Let me make sure you can see it. Let me know in the chat if you can see it. It starts right there. Look at those names and watch me scroll. Look at those names. I'm scrolling. I'm still 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 scrolling, guys. These are the names. These are the names on that lawsuit. These are retired players on that lawsuit. Look at all of these names on that lawsuit. This is what takes place. And they told you you weren't born as smart as white men. I can't make this stuff up, guys. I can't. I mean, it's sad as hell. And if you go to ESPN, right? So here's the covering up part, right? In the title, somehow put the NFL's covering up racism. If you go to ESPN website, and typically when you go to an ESPN website, you'll see the article written by an ESPN reporter, and then you'll see a video because they talked about it on some kind of show, whether it was Sports Center, First Take, Get Up, any of these shows that they have, talking heads. Here's the ESPN website. What do you notice about this? Well, there's a couple things I noticed because I work in media. First of all, this article, it says the NFL retired players agree to end race-based adjustment in dementia testing. First of all, they posted an article for the Associated Press. Now, why is that significant? Well, why? It's because ESPN has 1,000,001 reporters. They have 1,000,001 reporters. They have reporters, and then they have an extra 50 commentators, right? So they have reporters who actually write news articles, like 100 of them, maybe more, maybe 200, 300, I don't know. And then you have an extra 100, 150 commentators. So out of all them people, none of them could write a story about this. They pulled the story from the AP. And what else do I notice? Well, I notice there's no accompanying video. Normally, you have the title, you have the accompanying video, and then you have the reporter who wrote it and the report. Well, because the ESPN didn't cover it, they didn't have anyone write it. And because they didn't have anyone write it, or they didn't cover it, there's no video. That means it didn't show on their airways. And because it didn't show on their airways, and they didn't have anybody write it, that means it wasn't pushed to the masses. Now, why in the hell would ESPN not want the NFL to be known as being racist? Like, clearly, like the fact that NFL, why would ESPN, Disney, not want the NFL to be known as being racist? Or why would the NFL or Disney not push that this actually is taking place, the race norming? Well, this is why. This is why. Let me see. I'm going to show you. Let me share my screen here in a second. See, I'm trying to get the numbers. I want to get the numbers. I'm trying to get, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. Let me see. Let me share my screen. This is why ESPN is not going to promote anything that shows the NFL in a bad light. ESPN currently pays $1.9 billion per year, the highest fee of all the NFL domestic broadcast partners. Fox, CBS, NBA Sports see their NFL rights double to around $2 billion a year, with those contracts reportedly set to be announced by the league immediately. ESPN, Fox, CBS, NBC pay the NFL ESPN and NFL near $2.6 billion new Monday Night Football rights deal. That's why, guys. Billions of dollars are being exchanged. ESPN pays 2.6. Fox Sports pays $2 billion. CBS pays $2 billion. NBC pays $2 billion. All of these guys, all of these mainstream media companies are paying billions of dollars, not once, every single year, to the National Football League. So if I'm paying you almost $3 billion a year, why in the hell would I paint you in a bad light? Why would I talk about the bad things that you got going on? I'll talk about your players. I ain't paying them shit. Hey, you guys pay them, but I pay you. So therefore, I need for them ratings of those games to be up. Because if black folks start to realize, like, yo, what? The NFL really is racist? Some of them won't care. Some of them enjoy football, and they'll continue to watch because, you know, they enjoy the game, right? But some of them will cut it off. Some of them won't tune in anymore. Some of them will leave the NFL alone. And those ratings will start to plummet. If black folks collectively, let me know in the chat, if black folks collectively stopped watching the NFL, what would happen? If black folks as a collective stopped watching the NFL, what would happen? They wouldn't be getting no $2.6 billion deals, I can tell you that. And that's from one company. They got $2.6 billion from one company to show one game once a week, half the year. There's only 17 weeks in the NFL season. Think about this. There's only 17 weeks in the NFL season. ESPN shows one game a week, Monday Night Football. So they're paying over $2 billion to show one game a week for 17 weeks out of the year. 17 times 4 weeks. 4 weeks is a month. So we're talking about 4 months of work. 4 months of work. 17 weeks is 4 months of work. And they're paying over $2 billion for it. That's why they won't talk about it. Yeah, we're going to call it race norming. We're going to try to lighten it up. Look at the way they've worded it. Race-based adjustment in dementia testing. Man, it's called blatant racism. If I think black people were naturally born dumber than white folks, that's what we call racism. That's what we call racism, guys. There ain't no way, shape, form around it. It sounds like something happened in the 1960s. It sounds like some civil rights movement stuff, right? If I think you were born dumber than your white counterparts, that is being a racist. In the NFL, and if I'm denying you compensation for a game that literally you risked your life. The men that I showed you earlier, the Dave Durisons, the Chris Henrys, these people died. They killed themselves. The Junior Seau's literally killed themselves playing this game because their brain was so fried that they put themselves out of their own misery. I just had to bring attention to it. Thank you to Robert Littall, man, my guy out of LA. Black Sports Online. If you ever get a chance, check out Black Sports Online. He's the one that brought it to my attention. And I had to speak on it. When you have these so-called mainstream media platforms that speak about that their only job is to talk about sports. The NFL is the biggest sport in America. Their only job is to talk about sports. And there's literally, everybody loves to be Black Lives Matter when somebody gets gunned down or it's election time, right? When George Floyd was getting, killed on camera, everybody was Black Lives Matter. Where are these Black Lives Matter people? Do Black Lives only matter when it's election time? Do Black Lives only matter because we have blatant racism from one of the biggest corporations in America? Where are the Black Lives Matter folks? Hello, I'm waiting. We're talking about billions of dollars. $821 million have been dished out to people who have suffered CTE. Hundreds, that article, think about that article said, hundreds of black men had been denied. Hundreds, not like one or two, not like 50 or 75. It said hundreds of black men had been denied proper compensation. The average is $500,000. $500,000 can change a lot of these men's lives. But if the average is 500,000, that means there was a lot of them that were denied millions. We're talking about 40-year-old men with dementia, guys. Think about that. Some of you right now are watching, you're 40 years old with dementia. 26-year-old men killing themselves. Vincent Jackson was in his mid-30s. The former really good wide receiver for the Chargers and for the Buccaneers. Literally killed himself. Allegedly. Because they checked his brain and he was suffering from CTE. And so when he dies, he can no longer provide for his family. And then his family is fighting on his behalf, and the NFL telling him, well, he was born like that. Sorry, he was born like that. It's essentially what's taking place. You mean to tell me my dad, uncle, brother, cousin, whoever, who died after playing your game, was so miserable, depressed because of the brain damage that took place from playing your game, playing your sport, killed himself, can no longer provide for his family. We're coming to get the compensation that he is properly owed because you're paying it out to everybody else. And you're telling me no because you're telling me he was born like that. That is a problem. That is a problem. If you don't see a problem with that, why is this not leading this shouldn't even be just a sports topic. This should be leading every single news platform. But who are those companies I just named? ESPN, which is up under ABC News, which is owned by Disney. They pay over $2 billion to the NFL. CBS, which has CBS hella news stations, pay over $2 billion, host the Super Bowl. 100 million people watch the Super Bowl. They don't want to lose that for their advertisers. They charge $3 million, $3.5, $4 million for 30-second commercials during the Super Bowl. Fox Sports, same. For $4 million for 30-second ads during the Super Bowl. 100 million people watch. I ain't heard Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith, Skip Bayless. No one has addressed this. No one. This is sad. This is sad, man. Like, this is beyond sad. Not one major news network. And if they have, please tell me I'm wrong. But I have yet to see it. The first time I saw this was from a black-owned station. A black-owned media company, BSO, Black Sports Online. Shout out to Robert Littal. I mean, this should be leading every single newscast. Hundreds of black men denied compensation because they were told they were born dumber than white men. When the NFL is made of 70% of black men. The league is made up of 70% of black men. White men were getting approved for these settlements at 3 times the rate of the black guys. So for every 10 black men, there were 30 white men. Come on, man. I don't know. This triggered me. I can't even lie, man. This was rough to watch. This was pretty rough. To tell a man that he was born dumber than another man after playing this game, and some of these men have been lost, taken from their families way too young. Taken from their families, guys. These people that suffered CTE, you have those who have killed themselves, taken from their family that way. Those who have literally lost their mind. Like, their brain is so damaged, they have literally lost their mind. This is not me making a joke. This is me being oh so serious. And so so that way you've been taken from your family. And then you have those who are suffering that just want compensation, just like those other white men that you paid. And they've been told no because they were born dumber. I don't even know what else to say. I don't even know what else to say. That's all I got for today, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. You make your own decision if you want to keep watching football. That's the thing. I'm not telling you what to do. You make your own decision. I'm just bringing you the facts. From there, you make your own decision. I'm not telling you one way to do one thing or another, and I will not judge you, whatever you do. I just wanted to come here and bring you the facts. Once again, I'm Jeff Lightsey Jr. with the Black Boss Channel. We're going to be at the All Black National Convention this week in Orlando, Florida. Be sure to get your tickets at allblacknationalconvention.com. That is allblacknationalconvention.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. We were in here heavy. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out for those of you who haven't. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Peace.